you everyone for coming today. As we typically do, we have a little affirmation thing that we read to get everybody in the mindset. I want to thank everyone for their time, effort, and participation in our work before us today. I want to recognize that this is very difficult and important work, and I appreciate and value the perspectives and professionalism that everyone brings here today. Thank you. So kicking off our agenda for today, I know we typically do roll call, so we can go ahead and go through that. I'll let Terry call names.
Hey, Matt, how's that? I'm sorry, Matt.
I'm here. Thank you.
Okay, great. Marcy Grail. I know she was on Mount Hood, so it may be that she
just messaged and said she's dialing in now, so maybe we can circle back to her.
Sarah Merrick.
Good morning.
Scott is here.
Here.
Margaret.
Here.
Sarah Duckwell.
Present.
Ryan Hearn.
Here.
Lacey Llewellyn. John McKenzie. Was that John? Okay, maybe not. And Patrick is not here. Okay, so.
You want to try Marcy again? I think she's in now.
Okay, Marcy, are you here?
Yes, I am, and I'm sorry I can't show my video. The signal's very weak up here on Mount Hood.
Okay, so that would give us a quorum.
I don't believe it does.
1, 2, 3. Oh, that's right, because it has to be on both sides. You're right, Sarah. I was wrong. Yes, we do not have a quorum.
Okay. Well, we will. I know we have a public comment session first, and then I think the only thing that would really interfere with would be our ability to approve the minutes. So we can do public comment. Do we have any public comment from folks? Give it just a minute. I'm not seeing any hands or the chat exploding or anything. Okay, so the next item on our agenda would be reviewing and approving the minutes. I think we'll have to punt on that since we don't have a quorum, if that's correct. I see Margaret's hand.
Scott, I did have a question about the minutes that perhaps we could just address that and then we could come back to it. I think it's 28:45. I think that's what it is, right around the 28-minute mark. I had a question, and I apologize, Terry. I don't know how to go back and listen to the recording of the minute, but my memory was that we were discussing worker engagement, and there was a particular topic that came up that you asked not for a formal vote, but there was an ask for approval or comments. And it was something that I had heard Sarah Duckworth express some
I'm sorry, what?
Particular interest in the past. And so I wanted to make sure that we could circle back and get Sarah's opinion on it. But now I don't see it really articulated. So perhaps if you could send me the link, then I could take a listen to it, and Sarah could take a listen to it, and we could maybe just clarify the minutes for before next month.
Absolutely. I'm happy to do that.
Thanks.
Margaret, the link is at the bottom of the minutes. If you click on it to get to the timestamp.
Well, I will take a look at that. I didn't notice it, but thank you.
While we're on that, could I get just like a synopsis of that? Excuse me. If anyone can recall a month ago.
Sure, I can give you a quick summary. So Sarah, at the last meeting, I did a quick really quick tour of the WCD website, and we talked about the different options from the work plan, specifically looking at the work comp website. We looked at popular publications, and then we looked at the worker aspect, the employer aspect, and then I'm trying to think, and then again, we looked at the popular publications that people view most often. And so one thing that we were looking at was where we should place the QR code. And then later in the meeting, when we talk about the work plan, I have the information from the last meeting about where would be the best place to put the QR code.
Okay,
So,
So from my perspective, and if I recall previous conversations, my interest is only for worker accessibility to that information. A lot of our employees in particular use smartphones and don't have computers. So being able to have, and I mean, I read that having it enabled for smartphone viewability and in dual language, especially English, Spanish at this time to start. And if that's where my interest lies, and hopefully that can clarify some of those points up front.
and Sarah, just to go a little further, the group did ask me to look at our website and find out if it was smartphone friendly, what were the options, and so I do have a little more to report when we get to the work plan part of the agenda.
Great. Yes, I read the minutes, and so that made sense to me. But for my clarification on my interest, I believe that's thinking back, that's what it would have been. Thank you.
All righty, so it sounds like we'll get some clarification on that and then can maybe see a draft and then work on it next time. So the next that I'm seeing on the agenda, if there weren't any other questions, are department updates.
Yes, so Lauren Eldridge was unable to join us today, so we have Senior Staff Attorney Heidi Havercroft from the board with us today. So Heidi, let's go to you.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? Great. Thanks for inviting me today, co-chairs and members of MLAC. I have a brief update concerning board rulemaking. So the board is currently considering a rule concept to simplify the denial appeal language mandated by board rule. So as background, a board rule, OAR 438-005-0055, requires workers' compensation carriers to include specific language in a denial of a workers' compensation claim. And that required language includes information about how a worker can appeal that denial. The Oregon Trial Lawyers Association and the SAFE Corporation jointly submitted a rule concept to the board, and that's how this originated. And the goal is to simplify the required language and make it more understandable and accessible for workers. After considering public comment on the concept, the board has referred the concept to a rulemaking advisory committee. And once the advisory committee issues its report, the board will consider further public comment and take any necessary rulemaking actions. The advisory committee's report will be posted on the board's website once it's received. And that's kind of the short update that I have for you today, unless you have any questions about that.
Thank you for that update. Do we have any questions from MLAC members? Or anyone else? Thank you very much. Go ahead, Terry.
Okay, I just have a quick update here, if I can find it in my notes, on the rules. Sorry, it's here somewhere, I promise. All I need is a few more papers. We had a rule making meeting on November 30th on the 9s, 10s, and 15s. And we had a stakeholder ask that comment period be extended, and it has been extended to the 15th, December 15th. So there's that. I also wanted to let everybody know Senate Bill 814 will go into effect on January 1st. That's the next thing. And then we have a stakeholder meeting in January for the 60s claim administration. You all should have received Gov delivery notice on that meeting. Let's see. Are those all the rule updates that I have? I believe so. Oh, here it is. Yes, Senate Bill 418. I think I said 814. I transposed those numbers. And with that, I would like to hand the update over to Director Stolfe.
Thank you, Terry. Good morning, everyone. Andrew Stolfe here. Have a short but important announcement to share with everyone. Some bittersweet news. Someone who's very, very dear to the agency and to the committee, who's been involved in workers' comp issues for, I won't say how long, but many decades, is unfortunately retiring at the end of the year. So Sally Cohn has let us know she'll be, and this is long expected, but something we were hoping would never happen. But Sally's let us know that she will be retiring at the end of the year, has made me swear multiple times not to make a big deal out of this. And I keep failing that promise over and over. But you can't let her last MLAC meeting go by without acknowledging everything that Sally has done for the state and for the workers' comp system, for injured workers over a very long and very distinguished career. So want to extend our best wishes and thanks to Sally, and can't stop anyone else here from expressing any words as well, if anyone else would like to share. But Sally, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that update. We do appreciate all of the work that Sally has done. I know summoning her from the peanut gallery to answer questions has always been very helpful for me in chairing meetings. So I very much wish her a happy retirement. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you much.
Next on the agenda is our MLAC legislative video. So, Baba, are you ready to show that?
The workers' compensation system. As MLAC members, we give advice the management labor.
Sorry, there's gremlins in the room.
Management Labor Advisory Committee, or MLAC, is a place for employers and labor to meet to discuss, explore, and resolve issues with the workers' compensation system. As MLAC members, we give advice and make recommendations to the governor and legislature about proposals affecting workers' compensation in Oregon. As a committee, we are guided by the values of balance, fairness, adequacy, affordability, efficiency, stability, flexibility, and predictability. Together, they form the lens through which we evaluate all proposals. You can read more about our values on the MLAC webpage. If you have a proposal you want us to consider, please give us as much advance notice as you can, as early in the legislative session as possible. Don't worry if it is already during session. We will do our best with the information you provide. Your proposal should be well developed and have been discussed with the different parties it affects before you come to us. We realize you may not be able to provide us with all of the information we find useful, but in general, we would like to know 6 things when you present your proposal. Number 1, we need to know the problem you are trying to solve. Tell us why this is an issue, what caused it, and how many workers it affects. Number 2, has this issue ever been addressed in the past? If yes, tell us what was done and why you think this issue persists. Number 3, we need to know what your proposal does. What are the fiscal effects on the affected parties, such as workers, employers, insurers, medical providers, or the Workers' Compensation Division? Do you have an idea how many claims may be involved, or what laws may be affected by your proposal? You will need to work with the Workers' Compensation Division to get a potential system cost for your proposal before you present to us. Number 4, how does your proposal connect with the committee's values? Does it fairly meet the needs of both workers and employers? Is it stable enough to encourage consistency and efficiency, yet flexible enough to change when necessary? Number 5, what data supports the effects of your proposal? What data is or is not available? Is there anything preventing you from getting this information? Can we support a change without this information? And finally, number 6, have you reached out to stakeholders and affected parties, and do they support your proposal? Do you have any feedback from the Ombuds Office for Oregon Workers or the Office of the Small Business Ombudsman for Workers' Compensation? So how do you get your proposal before us? Call our administrator, Terry Watson, at 971-332-0260 or email her at terry.a.watson@dcbs.oregon.gov. We meet once every 2 weeks during legislative sessions and once a month in the interim. For more information about MLAC, visit www.oregon.gov/DCBS/MLAC.
Shutterstock Music.
And we have Angela with us today if there's any questions, comments, feedback.
Great, thank you. I see Ryan has his hand up.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Scott. Thank you, Chairman. I just want to say amazing job. I love that video. I think it really sends the message of what we're looking for, and the graphics are just top notch. Great job, everybody.
Great, thank you, Ryan. Yeah, I agree. That I think is accessible. It's descriptive enough to kind of get into the weeds, but without being inaccessible for folks. So I think that's really great. Any stakeholder? I know we got a lot of stakeholders on the line. Thumbs up from folks. Oh, I see Sarah's hand.
Thank you, Scott. first, I want to echo everyone else saying that I love it. I like to look at things, and so I was, thinking furiously how I'd write down everything. Is there a link to the actual document that references all the points that MLAC is asking as well? Or where can I find that? That may be a question for Terry.
I don't think we have it available yet because this is just the first draft, Sarah. I think once you're okay with it, then, or how can we do that, Angela? It's a
No, I'm
video.
sorry, not a link to the video, but a link to our document with, it was sent out by Baba today as well. Where is that located on the MLAC website?
Yes, it's on our website, and it's on it was the September meeting that we finalized it, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So if you look on the September MLAC meeting, it should say legislative guidance document final.
Right, where is it on the website?
On the MLAC website?
It would be under the 2023 meetings. If you go
So-
to that link.
Okay, it's not going to be on like front and center where they can click on it.
Yeah, the 2023 meetings on MLAC webpage. There's a link directly to the 2023 meetings. And then you go to the September location on the under the 2023 meetings.
I think Sarah's point, if I may, Sarah, is more of a kind of having the information centralized where you have the video and the document sort of on one spot. So if you don't have to click through to find the meeting section, but that potentially right on kind of the home page, there could be a, where it says committee member, towards the bottom, there's tabs that say committee members, meeting materials for 2022, 23, 21. Maybe we could just have somewhere on that page a link to, are planning on bringing something in front of MLAC, or how do I bring something to MLAC, and then have sort of all of this collected on there. Is that?
Oh, yes, we will be planning to do that, but right now this is a draft. So we're having everybody review the draft. And as soon as that's approved.
Hi there, how are you?
Anyways,
Oh, no
yes, there will
problem.
be a location for that
No
information
worries.
available on the MLAC homepage as soon as you guys approve the video.
Yeah.
We are developing text for that web page, and we'll have that to present to you as well. So
Okay.
absolutely, there'll be a space on the the MLAC homepage to direct people to that video and that information.
Perfect, thank you. And just a reminder to folks, if you're in the audience, please do mute yourself. We can hear you. We get wonderful little bits of conversations that probably should not be part of the record. So thank you, Angela. I think that makes sense. So the idea is we're kind of reviewing all of the draft information, and that will be compiled.
I mean, I just said I don't have anything to do with state hospital.
Thank you, Terry. Any other questions about the video? Sarah, I saw a thumbs up at one point. Did that kind of capture your concern?
That makes sense. And I understand that that's not in full approved for all the documents, but I know that legislative concept or written document is approved. So it would be nice if that in the interim could be accessible on the front page of MLAC in the interim while we're waiting for the video, but I don't know if it needs to all be fully developed before that section of the website can be developed. So.
Alrighty. Any other questions or comments? Do you have any stakeholder feedback? Would that have that video have helped you understand the process a little more when you were a baby lobbyist getting involved in this messy work that we do? I see David Berenberg has a hand up.
Yeah, one quick comment, which was you mentioned the number of workers that are covered or impacted by comp. You might want to also, just for balance, add the number of employers that are covered by comp, because that gives it another sense of scale.
Thank you. Any other comments or ideas? All righty. Well, thank you so much. We do very much appreciate the work on that. I think very, very well put together so far, and look forward to the final product here.
Okay, thank you.
So that looks like all that we have formally slated for department updates. Was there anything else that came up, Terry? I did notice member Duckwall forwarded me the DCBS press release and wanted to take a moment to congratulate Director Stolfi on receiving the Bonnie Burns Excellence in Consumer Advocacy Award. And Director Stolfi, yeah, congratulations on that. It looks like that's also I mentioned in the DCBS news pieces, and the press release that I saw, you met it with your characteristic humble nature and saying that your name may be on the award, but that you shared the honor with all the employees at DCBS. So I appreciate all the work that you do, and want to give a shout out to the DCBS staff as well. But we wanted to take a moment to recognize you and congratulate you on that as well.
Thank you, Scott. That's very, very nice. I really appreciate it.
All righty. So moving on, we see LC presentation of SAFE with Ivo Trummer listed, at least in my notes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe before I start, and for the record, Mr. Chair and members of MLAC, Ivo Trummer, Government Affairs Manager for SAFE. Want to echo your comments and congratulations to Andrew for the award. Also want to mention Sally Cohn will be missed by all of us very much. She's been the consummate professional, and it's been such a joy working with her. Even for me, who am fairly new to this role, it's been wonderful. We look forward to hearing what the plan is after January 1, but also understand all these things do take time. So completely understand. And then maybe a final comment, and I'll refer to the MLAC website for our 1 page or 2 page or whatever you want, however you want to count the pages. Terry emailed us the MLAC sheet with all the questions within 5 minutes of us asking to be on this agenda, and so we filled it out. We may have been the first ones to try it. So for what it's worth. With that, Mr. Chair, if I may, or before I start, this is really a conceptual presentation. We don't have a bill yet back from Legislative Council. The moment we do, we will share with a number of stakeholders. Many of them are or with all the stakeholders, many of them are on this call too. Ian certainly will come back with you to take a look at. That said, we are working on a bill for the 2024 legislative session, starting here in a couple of months in early February. It's Senator Taylor who has agreed to do it as I believe, a personal bill that she's bringing forward. But again, there's no actual language yet, so I'm just going to share. It's also in the 1-pager, very high level, what we're trying to do. With that, Mr. Chair, if I may, I'm going to talk about fraud, not a topic many people like to talk about, nor do we. Thank goodness it does not happen very often. To give you a sense, and I'm going to start on the employee, the worker side, say if we process 42,000 claims a year, in only a very teeny handful of cases, 3 to 6 times a year, will we refer someone to law enforcement when we suspect it's fraud. Not that I have done the math, so think of it as in a metaphorical sense of numbers, but that's a tenth of a percent. It's really a minute number of cases where we think fraud is happening. A worker may lie about where an injury happened, skiing down the mountain. I'm an avid skier, but not work, but filed as a workers' comp claim. That is really fraud. Should the district attorney or sheriff's office in a particular county agree that it's fraud and decide to prosecute, that's up to them, and it goes to a judge and jury. If they're found guilty in a court of law, it is a felony. And that's, again, thankfully, happens only in a few cases, regular cases. On the flip side, if a business commits knowingly and intentionally fraud in the workers' comp system, it turns out there is no criminal statute that would hold them accountable. We had a case, in particular, I don't want to get into too much details, where somebody misrepresented the payroll to such a degree that it caused hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage. We refer to the district attorney. When we refer to the district attorney, it turns out there is no criminal statute to hold them accountable. Different, if you will, and I'll just go down a handful of states. We're one of the few states who don't have a criminal statute for this. California does, Washington does, Idaho does, Nevada does. It's all the felony in all states, and the list continues throughout the country. Now, we want to be careful, and as I said, we don't have language yet. We share the nervousness with many of our friends that the language needs to be very tight. We don't want to create a situation where people are too afraid to fill out the workers' comp form. We are the first ones to agree it is a very complicated system, and it always the question is a warehouse worker, if they only are there a couple of times a week, but mostly in the office, what category, as you all know, workers' comp premium insurance is calculated by payroll and type of work. It matters how dangerous the work is. All that is complicated. If the premium is over a certain threshold, we are required to audit or spot audit certain accounts on an annual basis. Let me tell you, I understand in a third of the cases, we actually owe a business money back because payroll changes. It's dynamic in a year and we owe money back. A third of the cases, it might be that payroll went up that year and the business owes us money to true up the premium. And a third of the cases, it's right on. It's a normal process. We don't want to interfere with that process. All we want to do is that for the very egregious cases where somebody knowingly and intentionally committed fraud to cheat the system, that there's a mechanism to hold them accountable. We think it's in the interest of all who are in the workers' comp system. The bad actors make it more expensive for anybody who follows the rules. They also cheat the system, not just their workers, but also the system. Let's say, hypothetically, I don't want to pick on construction, not at all. We work with many great construction companies, but let's assume there is a hypothetical fraudulent construction company. They can underbid others in the area because they just have lower operating costs by cheating on their workers' company insurance. With that, Mr. Chair and members, there are many other folks here on safe on the line who can help clean up what I might have messed up, but happy to turn it over to questions again. As soon as we have an actual draft, we'll be happy to come back.
Excellent, thank you. Do we have any questions from folks? Not seeing any questions.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and we appreciate the opportunity. We'll be back.
Great, thank you so much. Good luck. I know the legislative process is a fun and interactive one. So,
yeah. Mr. Chair, if I may, though, the privilege leaving the bill and the legislative process, I also want to acknowledge Dave Bernberg is on the call. And Dave, similar to Sally, is retiring at the end of the year. And we at SAFE are heartbroken that he's leaving. He will be missed as much as Sally. But I want to make sure you all have worked with him very much. You all know him as just a professional. His knowledge of the process, knowledge of this policy area is just immense. And he has been a true believer and defender of the MLAC process. And so I think we all want to just tell him good luck and happy retirement. And I know he's leaving for Vietnam, so I can't call him because he thinks there's no international phone service right during session, but there is so I'll be calling.
Great. Yes. Well, thank you and congratulations to David Bernberg. I know I've had many an important call with him and enjoyed working through the process with him, and wish him a happy trip to Vietnam. That's really the way to start your retirement, is to get out of the country where there's no phone service so that you can get some peace. So I'll have to take note of that for, when the time comes for me, hopefully not 35 years from now, but probably. Well, thank you so much and congratulations. Any other questions or comments about the concept presented? I see two hands. I see Dustin first and then Derek second. So Dustin.
Yes, thank you, Chair Scott. just out of curiosity, I represent a group, a legislative committee through Oregon RIMS, which is the Risk and Insurance Management Society, the Oregon chapter. And in relation to fraud, the conversation has come up amongst our group representing employers in regard to what it would take, to consider a fraud unit, fraud division. I don't know if Oregon has anything currently on the books, but from the standpoint of kind of formalizing some of the efforts to knock out fraud when it occurs, looking through some of the literature that can be found online, insurancefraud.org, some of the other national sites that track, at least in general, the extent of fraud in insurance, not specifically to workers' comp, but just across the industry. It seems that Oregon maybe doesn't have something like that, and I don't know if that would be something that could be worked into a bill like this. And from the standpoint of balance, fairness, that it's something that's proposed for both employers and employees where that happens. From the sounds of it, it sounds like things just generally get referred to law enforcement, but I don't know if there's anything specific to fraud. Perhaps any other stakeholders on the call could speak to any current mechanism that there is, or if that could be part of the discussion as this legislative concept moves its way closer to formally coming before MLAC.
So I think that kind of is more of a discussion question, if I'm understanding the comment in question about sort of the general tracking of fraud more generally. I think that would be great to reach out to DCBS about. I know that Director Stolfi does some great work. I think is also in charge of the Division of Financial Regulation, which, if memory serves, also kind of governs insurance products and insurance providers. I'm seeing some nodding from Terry, so maybe Terry could reach out with some info on that, because I think that's an interesting point. But I see that Ivo has raised his hand as well. Maybe has a comment on that.
Yes, thank you, Scott. Sorry, Derek jumped in the queue here. I just want to respond sort of for our ability, our intent to keep this only to workers' comp insurance fraud, period, for this particular bill. And we're working to make sure the relating to clause for all the stakeholders who follow that kind of nuance remains very tight for this. So from our perspective, it's just for this particular issue.
Thank you. I see Derek Sangstrom.
Good morning, everybody. Derek Sangston with Oregon Business and Industry. I only wanted to voice that I'm happy that MLAC is considering imposing jurisdiction. I think MLAC's the right place to sort out this type of bill, make sure that the scope of the problem is measured, and they develop and MLAC is the best place to develop a narrow response that isn't overly burdensome to businesses throughout the state. Like Ivo said, those workers' compensation forms can be pretty burdensome, pretty confusing, and I would hate to see a lot of employers either be extremely afraid to fill them out or get caught in mistakes and prosecuted for those mistakes. So I'm hoping that MLAC can impose jurisdiction. I think it's the proper venue to sort out those issues. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. I know in kind of reading through this and Ivo's mention of the intentional and willful brought me back to my criminal law 1 days in law school and the I believe it's the 4
yes.
model penal code mens rea or intent section. So looking forward to what Legislative Council has come forth with actual language, so we can dig into that and I can pull out my notes.
Yeah, I had my crim law professor reigning through MPC, model penal code state. Let's go.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
So for those of you who didn't have to go to law school, count yourself lucky that you're not still traumatized about remembering what the monoton insanity rules and everything else. So these things that even from 7 years ago still come bashing back in my brain. All right, well, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Not seeing any. So I see next on the agenda, we have a work plan update. I don't know if there is an actual work plan update. I just know that we are holding some space there.
Yes, actually, after the last meeting, when we went on the work comp website tour, we had talked about putting a QR code on the employer required notice of compliance. And so we thought maybe that the QR code could go right here and take, the QR code would take the person to our WCD website, to the injured, sorry, I can't find the word, the employee, when you're injured on the job, that place, so that all the information is there. And after we had that conversation, it has the 801, it has the 827, it tells them everything they need to know when somebody is injured on the job. So these are the forms that employers, they're all filled out to their employer, insurer, policy number. Then the QR code would go here. An employee would just scan it, and then it'd take it right to the WCD website, and they'd be able to see everything that they need to know about an injury or being injured on the job. So that was one thing that I said I would do. The other thing was our work comp website is actually very user-friendly on the web. If you look at it on a smartphone or a tablet, it really is pretty user-friendly. So those were the two things that I said I would follow up on. So very quick update. So what are your thoughts around that?
I saw a hand go up, but then go down almost immediately. Was there a question on that?
No, that was an accident.
Oh, all righty. I see Sarah's hand.
Excuse me. Thank you, Scott, and thank you, Terry. I'm wondering if we could get samples of that and where it's going to land so we can kind of review it. And then kind of review it within our own spaces to see, you know, and kind of confer with people in our own world to make sure that that makes the most sense and it's user friendly. And I echo my Spanish comment, and I know other languages as well are important, but I'm just talking from my own personal experience. Would be helpful. Thank you.
And Sarah, I do believe that we have our website is available in Spanish. Okay. We are actually checking as I said that because I thought that I did see some of the information is available in Spanish. So
I know there's a kind of automated Google Translate with a language selector in the bottom right-hand corner of my web browser when I bring up the MLAC website, at least.
It actually is available.
it is available.
It is
Okay.
available, yes.
Oh, it is available.
And in Russian too.
Spanish.
Does that
and-
transition to all forms?
I'm looking to see, I'm not sure of all of them, but I'm looking as well.
Okay.
I
all
think
right.
that was
So-
part of it, was some of the forms weren't.
Warnings. Okay. So let me check, and then I will get a sample doc for the next, or maybe I'll just email it out prior to the next meeting. So, okay.
I'd
And
like
I
to
must-
just try it too, you know, so I can be that injured worker and try to go through the process and see where I stumble. So thank you. I appreciate this effort and work.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we want to happen. So.
And I think that's a great point that Sarah made. I always like to kind of print a copy and present it to some folks around the office, or if we have members that come in, I can kind of comment on receive comments from them and then take that feedback back. So any of that we can have some kind of laboratory, real world experience there is always helpful.
Yes, okay, great. Thank you. And that's all I have.
Great, thanks. Any other questions or comments from folks? Not seeing any. I want to echo Sarah's thanks for the work on that. I see next up on the list is an update, upcoming meetings update. Looks like we have an in-person for January 4th, 2024, and January 18th being our hybrid, back to our hybrid model. So any questions or comments about that?
I think the only thing for January, it would be weather dependent, maybe, as long as we have a hybrid option. I've already driven down the gorge once in snow all the way to Cascade Locks, and probably wouldn't do it unless I had to. So, thank you.
Yes, of course. I know that we've diversified our MLAC crew to include folks from, Ryan, are you out of Roseburg or just your company?
No, just the company, but we're in Eugene. So
Gotcha. I was gonna say, and I believe Matt is also in Eugene. So being mindful of that with the weather is of course important. As Marcy is also hanging off of Mount Hood on the phone. I'll just, we can, since she's not on video, we can fill in with something a little more interesting than the truth.
Thank you.
And I see a hand from Sarah.
Yeah, sorry to back up a little bit to the work plan. I just wanted to, it looks like we have a wrong House bill number on something that was added to the work plan recently for the report on the firefighter cancer presumption. It's listed as House Bill 4112 and it should be 4113.
Okay.
Just as
Thank you.
whenever we're doing care for that.
Thank you for the catch on that.
And I will fix that. Thank you.
Great. Oh, Sarah again. Nope, Sarah down. All righty. The joy. This is why we have the joy of the in-person meeting. It's a little more formal when someone walks up to the table than accidentally clicks the raise hand. So, well, thank you, everyone. Do we have anything else? Any other closing questions or comments? Not seeing anything. I wish everyone a safe, happy, and healthy holidays, and thank all the workers who are making that happen. Thank you much.
Thank you, everyone.
Cheers, everyone. Come read the comments. They're super sweet. Yeah, I can read them out loud if you want to. It says, well deserved, Sally. We wish you the best. Congrats. Thank you for all your years of service, Sally. Your absence will be felt and missed. Congrats on your retirement. Mazel tov, Sally. What a wonderful leader and partner to you. You will be missed.